And this is the thing. My number one thing to men is be authentic. Be yourself. Be yourself and let her decide if she likes you for who you are. So many men trying to put on a facade to impress women, thinking, oh, she wants me to be this kind of guy, so I'm going to try to be this kind of guy. Mm-hmm. She already has the leverage because you're playing into her hands. You're trying to be who you think she wants you to be. No, be yourself. Express to her what you don't like. Express to her what you expect. Express to her how you want her to be. And if she says, nah, that's not me, then say, okay, the hell with you.
May I ask one more question on this? Mm-hmm. The leading her out of bad behaviors, if you will. What I gathered from one was she never got the chance in her idea of the perfect world to explore because they had children so early. In my mind, a woman kind of figuring herself out a bit in her 20s does give room for where she's going to be all in later on in life. If a man's plucking from like the 19, 20, 21, 22, those are very, a woman is just gonna either play, manipulate, like she's kind of in her dark feminine because she doesn't know any better yet. So I do have issues with men kind of grooming who are in their 30s.
Hold on, I'm coming back for this one. Okay, go ahead. What about grooming?
This is a very California thing I've been seeing here. You would get a lot of shit in Wisconsin if a 30-some-year-old man was dating an early 20-year-old woman.
Fuck Wisconsin. But anyways, so okay. How do you define grooming? Let's be precise in our terms.
So, well, we have someone here who's 18. She's going to school. She's forming her ideas about the world. So let's say she meets a man in his 30s, and he goes, I claim you, I want you, and she likes him. She goes, okay, I agree to this. What I'm trying to speak of is, let's say because she never got the chance to explore the world on her own, really, in a way.
What do you mean by explore the world? What does that mean?
Maybe a lot of women want to travel.
So?
They don't want to travel just always with a partner.
What does traveling have to do with it?
That's exploring the world.
So? Is that a prerequisite to being a well-developed human being?
Can I get a show of hands of who all has had the dream of?
Yeah, but hold on. So you realize for the vast majority of human history, people didn't leave like their immediate 10-mile radius for like their entire lives? Would it be predatory for somebody to date somebody who hasn't traveled? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. I'm talking about her forming her own ideas.
Why do you need to travel to do that?
I'm just saying when I hear about dating profiles, that's what women say they want, what men say they want.
Oh yeah, you can want to travel. There's nothing wrong with wanting to travel. Why would that be any sort of negative indicator on a man who wants to date her because of her lack thereof of any sort of traveling?
I picture the meek, quiet, unopinionated woman.
Oh, so you're describing exactly what men want. Let me ask you a question. So, what do you think is more predatory? Let's say a man who's dating a 30-year-old woman who's never left her hometown ever, or a man who dates a 19-year-old who's who's done a fuck ton of traveling even at 19. Which one do you think is more predatory?
I'm confused by the question.
Which, by the way, I reject the premise that it's predatory at all. But in your worldview, which one's more predatory?
A man. Can you rephrase that?
I don't know how else to rephrase it. It's super simple.
Well, how old is the man?
35.
Okay, so choosing the 30 versus the 19-year-old, the one right out of high school?
But the 30-year-old, she grew up in a really small town and she's never traveled. Versus the 19-year-old, she's some OF girl who lives in Los Angeles. She's been to Miami. She's been to Vegas.
Okay.
She used to be a stripper. She's done all that shit. Which one's more predatory?
Okay, definitely. I see your point. I do see your point.
I'm asking you which one.
I still think it's the 19-year-old.
But she's traveled.
That wasn't my point. Okay, I was saying a woman who's shaping her ideas of how the world works. I just threw travel in because that's usually a desirable.
Okay, so what's here? Define grooming.
Grooming.
Yeah, what's grooming?
A man or a woman. It could be a woman with I think the word simp. Yeah, grooming is.
It could be an older woman. Sure.
Yeah. I'll have to share what I think truly a feminine woman does. She understands her own nervous system, her own emotions, her own wants, needs, and can speak from those. Grooming gets messed up if a woman hasn't developed all that stuff. If he's telling her, this is how I think you feel, this is what I consistently think you need outside of money, how to lead her life, and all those things, a woman still needs to understand her own, I don't know what
okay,
word
so
to use
how
for
about
that.
this? A 30-year-old man dating a 20-year-old, do you think he's grooming her?
I think she needs a little time to understand herself.
Should
yes.
she not be allowed to vote?
I kind of actually agree with that as well.
Okay, so when should the voting age be? And is it just for women?
I don't
like,
think it should be.
Do young women not have like mental faculties or
I
agency?
wish we could take a test to vote, to be honest with you.
Okay, but when should women be allowed to vote then, since we're taking away their agency?
I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about age.
But I
No, so you want to take away, you want women to not be able to vote until what age?
That's not what I'm saying here. It's a competency thing.
Wait, so just
How
to be
much
clear,
does she
women
know about
can
the
vote.
world?
Hold on, just to be clear, women can vote on infinitely complex political and social things, but they can't decide who they want to date. I'm just confused. So either women have agency and they can vote on like all these really complex issues, but they can't choose to date a guy. I'm just confused.
Do you want a woman who's messed up pretty hormonally, partying a lot, does it really lost to vote for our country?
No, I'm asking you the question.
That's what I'm saying, though. I'm saying some of these young girls.
I would be fine with raising the voting age for everybody.
Okay, but some of these young girls that I have seen on this podcast are pretty lost in the sense of where they're accepting money from much older men, and these girls look like they go out a lot. They're obviously okay. No, I have an issue with OnlyFans. I have a big issue with OnlyFans. So that's what I'm saying. These are the people voting for our country. So I'm not saying it's an age thing. It's a
I'm not going to let you escape from this. Define grooming. We have to define our terms if we're going to have a conversation about this.
She's no longer a human being. He's completely telling her who she is because she has not had the liberty to learn about herself.
Well, let me ask: do relationships not help you understand who you are?
True.
So when you say he's telling her who she is, like, he's not telling her who she is. She might be learning who she is based on what he says to her and the conflict that they go through. But I don't think there's an age limit on, well, I don't want to say not an age limit, but if you're talking about like a 20-year-old woman and a 30-year-old man, she's fully competent and cognizant of so far who she is, how she behaves, and if she likes a guy, what she's going to do in that relationship. Like, women know right from wrong. They know what men don't like. They know what's disrespectful to men or what men can perceive as disrespectful. And if they don't, if you're in a relationship, if I'm in a relationship with a younger woman and I tell her, you know, hey, partying and clubbing is not a good look, or there's guys, you putting us at risk, you're putting a relationship at risk. There's guys who could put things in your drink. You could end up making some pretty, fucked up decisions.
You're leading from the healthy masculine.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I have a lot of, sorry to interrupt. The images I have in my head are these are real relationships in this area. I know a 25-year-old with a 50-year-old man. He is paying for everything.
Okay.
Car, apartment. He already has kids. He can cheat.
He's okay. He's older, dating a younger.
Yes, she's 25, 26. I don't know how old she is now. He's much older. I know these people.
Wait, is she a sugar baby?
Pretty much. That's happening quite a bit.
And you're okay
here.
with that?
No. That's what I'm speaking. That's to me the
she's
grooming.
25 though. Wait, he's grooming her? He's grooming a 25-year-old?
Maybe we misunderstand grooming then, or not misunderstand, but we have a different idea of what grooming is.
If it's consensual, is it grooming?
Wait, what is the
misunderstanding? She has a lot of issues with it because he's like, you can leave. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna do what I want.
She's 25.
She's a sugar baby though.
No, they're in a relationship.
Yeah, it's closed on her end, open on his?
Correct.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? If they
she agreed to it.
Yeah, if it's consensual.
That's true. That's right.
You might personally disagree with that dynamic, but if he was upfront with her,
about that,
if he he brought it to her, and here's the terms up front.
And she was like,
and she agreed to it. I don't actually see what's wrong with it.
I want to say this. I wasn't agreeing with you because if they both agree to it, then what the hell's the problem? Like, I think it's their thing they're going to do, but what they want to do. But, like, 25 is old enough. Like, you know what you're doing. Like, that's not, at that point, like, I don't think it's grooming. Like,
I might
do you think
of grooming the wrong way then.
I mean, you give it a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Like, you associate it with...
I thought grooming was like whatever. You're speaking of the woman's experience matters. I'm on board with that. I'm talking about the men who the woman's experience doesn't matter. That to me is grooming.
Wait, hold on. So
I have a question.
One at a time. So it's grooming if the guy wants to date a woman who doesn't have certain life experiences. Like she hasn't traveled that much. She hasn't been fucked by a bunch of dudes. Is that what you
No,
think
that's
grooming
not
is?
at all what I'm saying.
But
No.
What is grooming?
She's not allowed to speak for what feels good for her or not. That's what I'm thinking grooming was.
She's not allowed to speak.
She's not allowed to voice her needs, her wants.
How about this? If a 30-year-old man is dating a 40-year-old woman, but she's not allowed to do any of that, is that grooming? So
I think so.
So
yeah,
a younger man can groom a younger man.
I think it's more like
woman.
controlling than anything.
That's what
when I think of grooming, like I've Googled it. I think of like
what's the Google definition?
Well, there's a couple
I would
different.
like to know that.
So there's like the historical term where it was, for example, let's see here. The practice of preparing or training someone for a particular purpose or activity. So, for example, like the prince would be groomed to become king one day. So he would be taught diplomacy and be taught these things so that when he's young, he could be prepared to be the king one day and know how to navigate diplomacy, politics, etc. There's this next definition, which is maybe closer to what you're saying, the action of attempting to form a relationship with a child or young person with the intention of sexually assaulting them or inducing them to commit an illegal act, such as selling drugs or joining a terrorist organization.
Yeah, no. I don't think it's grooming. Yeah, no.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking more controlling.
I think it's just controlling.
But why are we using like therapy speak?
Is it a therapy word?
Grooming? I feel like that's kind of like a bit of a buzzword.
It's called a buzzword.
It's the spin. It's like you're using the spin to paint something in such a way that it's going to be perceived negatively.
What I'm trying, I guess, controlling. What I was trying to get at is the idea that just because a man is providing a lot of money.
Okay. Damien, can you close the door?
A woman's going to, like what we were just talking about with Ashley, could feed into that, get the money, but she's not truly, like he may be devotional to him. Mm-hmm. She's not truly in it with. That's what I'm trying to speak
Who's grooming who in this situation? Is he grooming
I regret now saying the word grooming.
Okay. Yeah. We'll move off of grooming, but you have a problem with, it sounds like older men dating younger women.
Because I think the younger woman hasn't quite developed. I know the whole maturity thing is one thing, but a young woman hasn't really developed emotional regulation.
Really?
I mean, some older men don't develop that for a while.
True.
So I think you can find these levels of development at any age, though. I mean, I'm 35. As somebody who's dated women older than me, my age, younger, I've met really cool, amazing, like well put together younger women, 20, whatever. And then I've met women who are older than me, women who are my age, who are fucking basket cases. Fucking insane.
That's true.
Yeah. Like literally terrible people. So this idea that, I think there's this tendency, especially when you're young, I think, like when I was maybe in high school or in my early 20s, you look up to people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. You think these people have it all together. A lot of these people are still just as dumb as they were when they were younger. Mm-hmm. Like this idea, Actually, I think a lot of people get worse because if you got mental illness of some kind, that shit typically doesn't get better. It gets worse over time. If you're dealing like a personality disorder, personality disorder, BPD, bipolar, NPD, whatever it is, that shit gets worse as you get older. It does not get better unless you've had some pretty intensive psychiatric care or therapy. Even then, I don't think that most of that therapy stuff is bullshit.
What about the whole idea that a young woman who hasn't been tainted by a lot of men, not just body count, I'm saying,
tainted.
I think this is a certain red pill says this, but young women tend to come with less baggage.
Do you think that's true or not?
Oh, because you described one that I do agree with the wants to go to parties, wants to get brought around the world by, yeah.
But how about this? Like, can I ask you a question? So you said you're 36, right?
Yes.
Do you have more baggage now than you did at 18?
Of course. Life provides baggage, yeah.
The longer you live, the more experiences you've had, good and bad.
Exactly. But what is that in a man saying, I don't want a woman because she does? To me,
she doesn't have baggage. What's wrong? What would be wrong with that if that's a man's standard? I want a woman with as little baggage as possible. What is actually wrong with wanting somebody who doesn't have baggage or who has less of it?
And also,
wait, let's.
Because if shit gets hard, do you think you're truly capable of leading her through the...
I think that there's the opposite. I think the more wounds you've inflicted, honestly, I think in some situations, not all, sometimes you can get thicker skin, sometimes you can develop more of a resolve. I actually think the more wounds you have, I think it makes you more susceptible to a subsequent wound. So, like, if you've been punched in the face, this happens with MMA fighters. If they start getting a bunch of scar tissue, they become much more likely to bleed from that location had there not been any scar tissue at all. And so you see this often with fighters. Their scar tissue just opens up super easily. They just whole face super bloodied up. I don't know if that's a perfect one-to-one comparison, but like this idea that, as a woman, I've been through so much shit, so much trauma, so much baggage. I don't think a lot of people heal. Like, I think you have trust issues now. You're going to be moving in a certain type of way. Are you going to be able to love me as deeply? Are you kind of on guard? Are you reserved? Are you holding something back? I think most people, their first love, probably going to, not always, but like you're a little bit more on guard after you've dealt with a bunch of different situations.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. When you say you want a woman, you think women should be able to explore their own ideas, develop emotionally, that also endures negativity that comes with that. So it's a catch-22 in a sense, because now you have this woman, if this woman has experienced life, she's traveled, she's developed her own identity, she's got some scars from doing that, and that's less attractive to a man. That's essentially what he's saying. Some men might appreciate it. They might can endure it, but if a guy prefers a younger woman, it's typically because her impressionability is to his advantage. It means that she hasn't endured some of the things that would make her relationship habits more pernicious. You get what I'm saying?
I do. The issue that's coming up in me with this is women are kind of raised, especially if the father was in their life, to want to go after and live a full life. So now you're telling women, no, you should have only your sole focus be about getting a man.
That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, we're not saying
that. We're having a discussion about age gap relationships. You have objections to age gap relationships. You think it's predatory.
But if she doesn't do that in her 20s, then she has a lot of baggage, and then men don't want her. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Did not say that whatsoever, but let me ask you a question. When you were younger, did you date older men?
No.
You've never had an age gap relationship?
No. No. I was raised with a mother who is 7 years older than her father, and they're still together.
Okay.
So I had a very different,
So you've always dated guys who are like 1 or 2 years, like around you, pretty much, or?
Yeah. I have dated younger.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, but usually close in age. I appreciate the commonality.
Well,
in a lot of things.
I want to get